Welcome to the Poetry of Justice Show with JackieRay Phillips here on YikesRadio.com and AccelerateRadio.net. Here on the Poetry of Justice Show, this is where social consciousness meets the arts. And what we do is we select topics that spark the interest and awareness of social diversity, ranging from arts, entertainment, and social justice at large, leaving our listeners thinking and saying,
YikesRadio.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, those are the sultry sounds of my mentor, the Mr. Kevin Nash. Mr. Kevin Nash is the owner of this proprietorship here at Accelerated Radio. So I always take the time to give Mr. Kevin Nash a very special shout out, because if it were not for his brainchild here at Accelerated Radio, it would be impossible for me to do what I so love to do here on Saturday nights, ladies and gentlemen. And then I'd like to give a very special shout out to our sponsorship, starting out with Lori G, the benefactor. How are you tonight, Lori G?
I'm well, thank you.
Awesome. It's so good to have you back in the studio. You were missed so feverishly last week.
I missed you all, too.
I know. I love you so much. Thank you so much. Lori G is the benefactor around these parts, ladies and gentlemen, so she keeps the wheel turning. So I'd love to give her a very special shout out. And then I'd like to give a very special shout out to G Babies Catering, LLC, ladies and gentlemen. That is Chef Mac, and he is most notably on Instagram. So you can get to him at Chef Mac, M-A-C, Chef Macario. I want you to check him out, ladies and gentlemen. And then I'd like to give a very special shout out to who we call around these parts, the legendary Lord Rocca. Lord Rocca's not with us tonight. He has a Netflix movie premiere that he's attending tonight. So very special shout out and congratulations to you, Lord Rocca. And then I'd like to give a special shout out to Rashid, because he keeps me balanced, and he's our amazing engineer here on the show, ladies and gentlemen. And then I'd like to give a very special shout out to WMPJ Steelworks Incorporated, guys. So we like to give him a very special shout out. We call him the man of steel around these parts. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and tie it up with our other sponsorship, which is APS Muscle Cars Incorporated. So I want you to go ahead and give them a very special shout out and check them out, ladies and gentlemen. And so that's going to be us here tonight on the Poetry of Justice Show with JackieRay Phillips on YikesRadio.com and AccelerateRadio.net. So we are in for a treat tonight. Let's get this thing embarked. Lori, how are you doing tonight, sissy?
You know, I am super excited tonight.
Super excited.
Yes, tonight is a big night for the POJ show.
It's humongous for the POJ show. Lori, we have in the house tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the, oh my God, I'm so excited, the Mr. Omar Bradley. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm wonderful.
Yes, you are.
Yes, glad you're here.
We're going to get this listenership up. We got people already tuning in. Hello, Kathy Hunter in Facebook. How you doing? We got Anthony Kinney Brew in the house as well.
Hey.
Lori G. Bethany says hello. And so we are getting this show on the road, ladies and gentlemen. So for the Poetry of Justice show, tonight is a very special night. Having you, Mr. Bradley, specifically because this is an interview that we, as a show, have been dreaming of literally for 6 years. So it is such an honor for us to have you here for so many facets. And so I just wanted to tell you, thank you so much for choosing us tonight and to come and spend your time with the Poetry of Justice show. One thing Lori and I talk about all the time is time here on the Poetry of Justice show, because we say sometimes, well, you know, if you kind of get into it with a friend, you can get that relationship back perhaps, or if you like to gamble and you might lose money in the stock market or something, and you never know, you might lose some money, but you can get that back, but you can never get our time back. So I just want to tell you, thank you from the bottom of our hearts here at the show for coming and spending your time here with us at the Poetry of Justice show.
I'm honored to be here.
Thank you so much, sir. So, Lou, how do you want to start this off tonight? We have so many places to go.
I know, I have like 2 pages worth of questions.
I know. This is why I want to give you respect and allow you first at the floor, because I was blessed to do a pre-show interview, and I know.
Okay.
So I'm going to share a lie.
Well, Mr. Bradley, I'm the nosy one of the bunch. I don't know if they shared that with you, right? But I'm very inquisitive, and so I have these things that I like to learn, which are called origin stories, right? So I think it's so important that we celebrate how we begin our journey. And I'm very interested in your origin story. Had an opportunity to meet your brother, who's here with you tonight. And I'd just like for you to tell our listeners a little bit, for those who don't know Mr. Omar Bradley, where your origin story began.
Well, I was actually born and raised in Compton. And my parents were migrants from Alabama. My father was the first African American to own a service station, which is seated or was seated exactly where the first Goldenberg was on Central.
Wow, I know where that is. Yes.
Back then, there were internecine battles between African Americans and whites for supremacy politically, academically, socially in Compton. And my mother was deeply involved in that struggle. She worked in the campaign of the first African American mayor, Douglas Dollarhide. She was a stalwart supporter of Walter Tucker III. And so I grew up in a household where there was a combination political consciousness and striving for economic excellence, to not just be a consumer, but to be someone who could either produce or be on the commercial end. I went to El Segundo Elementary, which was one of the favorite things that I ever did in life, because that's where I met my kindergarten friends, who I still have now.
Wow.
And then I moved on to Vanguard Junior High School. Vanguard was a very, very strict school. If you didn't go to Vanguard, you wouldn't know how strict they really were. And one of the people that made a great impression upon me was my biology teacher, Mr. Sweat. Now, I know Willowbrook had a Mr. Sweat, but Vanguard had a Mr. Sweat. And in order to pass his class, you had to perform surgery on a toad. You had to remove his heart.
That. Yeah.
You had to remove his lungs, his intestinal system, and then you had to apply resuscitation to the heart and then reattach it to the various veins. And if you didn't do that, he would tell you, you're not going to pass, so get ready. And so after that, I went to Centennial, which was actually a school literally built for African Americans. The mayor at the time, who named the school, literally said in public, name it something with a C for the colors. And if you look at the development of Centennial...
What?
Yeah. If you look at the development, it was the first attempt for whites to keep blacks located on the west side. At that time, Compton may have had one or two blacks, and there were internecine wars between the African Americans and the blacks relative to the black girls who went to Compton. Oftentimes they were maligned. So Compton decided to build Centennial. And one of the greatest joys for an Apache is to whoop the tar babes. But the tar babes really don't understand that. They don't understand in 1953, Compton's team was white and Centennial's team was all black. So the struggle did not begin as the Apaches versus the tar babes. It really started in the history of the African Americans versus the whites back in the 50s.
Oh, I did not know
Do you know
that.
that, Sissy?
I didn't. No, our parents bought their home in 1954. Yeah.
So that's around the time this was taking place. My father came here in 48
Okay.
and my mother in 49. And so it was not a difficult place. Well, it was not an easy place for African Americans to endure and to own homes and to dream. Those things came with a price. So that's the household that I came out of, and it was politically charged. It was also academically charged. By the time I was 9 years old, my mother had made sure that I had read the autobiography of Malcolm X, Soul on Ice, just most of the socially conscious available materials for a kid to read. And even though that stuff was probably beyond my grasp, you know, it was something that she made sure her children was exposed to. And she stressed education.
Yes.
She was a Los Angeles County probation officer.
Wow. Wow.
And, you know, I honor her memory by always bringing her up and things that she did, because while we were growing up with our mom, we watched her go back to school and get her master's degree. She got it at maybe about 55 years old. But while we would sit there and do our homework, she would do hers. And so she provided that example. And there's not a child in my mother's brood of offspring that did not go to college.
Wow.
That was just something you were going to do.
Right. That's just, there's no discussion.
So,
My texts are blowing up. They didn't know about the all black, the white versus black with Centennial and Compton High. So that's great.
what they telling you, Sissy?
Yeah, they're like, wow, I didn't know that. That makes sense. That makes sense. I didn't know that. Yeah.
the Apache name literally translated in English means the enemy. And so we were named the enemy.
The enemy.
Back in the 50s.
Wow.
And interestingly enough, and this is a historical note, Centennial started with no 12th graders, only 10th graders and 11th graders. And in 1953, the year the school opened, we were the CIF champs in football and track and field and baseball without any seniors. So the competitive spirit of the school, it wafted all the way through to when I got there. And the one thing that every Apache before us said, we don't care what game you lose, but don't lose the Compton.
Don't lose the Compton High. That's true.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's so true. Because it's so hard to be a tar babe. I don't know.
It is, because you pay the Apaches every year. And as I always say, I want the Tar Babes to be 9-1.
9-1. Okay.
You know what the one is.
I do. I know what the one is now. Absolutely.
That is so cool.
So does your mother, who really, poured into you guys, and like you said, you came out of an academic home, did that influence you to decide to go into academia?
Without any question. By the time I was 12, I had met Hubert Humphrey, the Vice President of the United States. By the time I was 15, I was being recruited by West Point and Navy, the Naval Academy, and all due to the fact that my mother was a stern disciplinarian, not as stern as my dad, but she made sure that we had a collective understanding that you gotta be better than your parents. You can't equal them. You gotta get better.
Right.
That's what stagnates a race and a people. When we don't try our best to be better than the generation before us. And today, I hear some music on the radio and I would just cringe at the thought of my mother hearing that.
Right.
Because she would not have let that play. In fact, even while I was dating, my mother would make sure that when I spoke to females, I gave them the utmost respect.
Yes.
And she would say, if you won't say it to me, don't say it to them. So that acculturation was something that she made sure we understood before we went out into the world. She was not going to be embarrassed by us.
Right.
And I think that was, back in those days, extended throughout Compton. Compton was not like Los Angeles.
No, it was not.
Back then, you asked the teacher, you going home, right? And they don't even really want your word about it, so
That's so true.
I really enjoyed growing up in Compton and have nothing but pleasant memories. And because Compton was a community that encouraged African American success, I was able to encourage your husband's success.
Absolutely.
Because I was his football coach.
Yeah.
And when I look back at your husband, I remember the day he came to practice, he was all over but 135 pounds. And he said, I want to play football. And I said, do you? What do you want to play? Wide receiver? He said, no, I want to play defensive end. I said, well, defensive ends are like 250. He said, no, that's what I want to do. So my job then is to find ways to keep him encouraged and to train him to fulfill his dreams. And he became one of the best players we had.
Yeah.
At 155 in his senior year.
See that story, Mr. Phillips? Dexter says hello. Hey, Dex. Oh, Mrs. Zarita's watching. Hello, Mrs. Zarita.
Hello, Miss Zarita.
Anthony Kennebrew told me to tell you that it's so hard to be a tar babe.
Hello, Auntie. My auntie is a tar babe.
Yes, she is.
Yes.
So beautiful.
Isn't she gorgeous?
She's beautiful.
I love Miss Zarita. she's so
Always
precious.
has been.
I know, ever since we were little kids.
Yes.
Ever since we were little kids. Okay, I have a big question. I'm just going to dive into the ocean. Mayor. When did it pop in your head to become mayor, in my opinion, of one of the, I want to say the greatest city in the world.
Greatest city.
The greatest city in the world. Because when I think of Compton, I just become delighted. You know what I mean? My experience growing up as a child was very delightful. Particularly what I used to love the most were the Compton Christmas Parade.
I used to love the Christmas parade
on Compton Boulevard and going down there. Remember to the J.C. Penney's and just walking down in the. Remember how beautiful it was, like downtown. You know, the beautifully paved.
And they had
cement,
the
you know what I mean?
decorations that went from
Right.
one side of the street to the
Oh
other.
my gosh!
I used
at
to
Christmas
love
time.
that.
So exciting, right? And
Yes.
just oh my goodness, I used to love it so much. I used to love the Compton Christmas Parade. I used to couldn't wait. I remember in 11th grade, I was in the Compton Christmas Parade. That was the year Muhammad Ali came, and I was like,
Really?
oh my God, it's Muhammad Ali! That was so exciting.
Really?
My daughter today was like, Muhammad Ali came to the. Yes,
Yes.
Muhammad Ali came. The Compton Christmas Parade. What's wrong with you?
Absolutely.
And I can tell you why.
Okay, but I know.
Okay,
See, that's
yes, here we go.
Give us the scoop.
Because the most iconic photograph of Muhammad Ali in history is him standing over Sonny Liston. And as you know, everybody thought Sonny Liston was going to kill Muhammad Ali.
Yes,
See,
they
that
did.
part.
But what most people don't know is the man that took that picture graduated from Centennial High School
Oh, I did not
in
know that.
1963.
No way.
He grew up right around the corner from Centennial.
See, imagine.
And he endeavored constantly. You see him in the movie, The Photographer of Muhammad Ali. He always endeavored to bring Ali back to his hometown.
Wow.
And we gave him the key to the city. But that's what community does. When you love your community,
Yes.
I love my
you want to continue to feed it, to develop it. You want to make sure that everybody is okay.
Yes.
And I hope we have not diminished in our capacity to see Compton for what it could be, and perhaps even what it used to be. I remember the decorations. I remember when you went down people's streets, the whole street would be lit up. The black clubs would go.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, the house.
We had candy
Candy
canes in
canes.
our flower box.
But we have lost, to some extent, that feeling of community. And when I came back in 1995 to coach Centennial, I didn't get a salary. I came back because I love Centennial. I came back because from 1975, which was my last homecoming game, to 1995, Centennial had not won a homecoming. And the one thing I told my kids is when this season is over with, you will win homecoming. And we did. So it's about believing not only in the future of our community, but even in the past. What is expected of me? Who am I? You guys love to say, it's so hard to be a tar heel. I believe that. I believe that. And you know what we say?
What's that?
We say you're a tar babe for life, but you're an Apache forever.
Okay, Miss Deborah Johnson
Okay.
says that Compton High used to always win the Compton Christmas Parade. We did.
Yes,
We did. You said,
we would.
remember Miss Deborah? She's one of the.
I know.
You know,
Yeah.
she's majorette, right,
Uh-huh.
Lori?
I
Yes.
know her. And to her, I say, you did win when Centennial would not show up.
Oh wow!
But as I recall it, Centennial High School was the first African American band to ever be admitted into the Macy Day Parade.
What, Lori?
I
You
didn't know
she
that
loved-
either. I love the Macy's
There
Day
had
Parade.
never been a black high school band in Macy's Day Parade. 1972.
No way.
We go to the Macy Day Parade and we win that category
What? I'm not even shocked.
for African American
shocked.
bands. So, you know, and there, listen, Compton had the first guy to ever jump 7 feet, Ronaldo Brown. You had the best basketball team in town, won like 3 years in a row without a loss, I think 81 straight games. The list goes on. Collectively, Dominguez, Compton, and Centennial, we are all great in our own right. And,
Absolutely. But I think it's about community,
Right,
right?
right.
where you started before.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I think that
Is that we're all representative of the city of Compton.
But I think one things that I want to put in right now and interject is it's so interesting, and I thank God that we did do the out of the box marketing, Lori, kind of doing the pre-show interviews and so forth. There was so much energy, right? And as a part of some of that energy, people already just needing to learn about you. Individuals were unaware that you were an educator. You know what I'm saying? They were unaware of all of the amazing things that you did for the city of Compton, all of the amazing things that you've done for students, for Hollywood, for politics, for the world, if I'm not being overly, because people know the name of this. The city of Compton is what it is. And you, to me, are a part of Compton's legacy and history from a world, you know what I'm saying? From an outside
Absolutely.
of the world view in. You can't, I don't think many people can think of Compton and not think of Omar Bradley.
I think it's much more to do with the turbulent times when I was mayor than me personally.
Okay.
Eazy-E, who I tried my best to save, promised me right before he died, I'll never make another song to misrepresent Compton. And not long after that, he was gone. But my influence with guys like Eazy and Quick and Cube, I don't say too much about Dre because I didn't know him that well. He went to Centennial. So did Quick and Kendrick. That history's well settled. But the ones that would listen, I would tell them, listen, brother, if you continue to talk about death, it's going to become you.
Right.
I mean, this is just from me growing up in the streets. Guys are always talking about killing and going down for the hood. That's what happened. Character is destiny. And so the proliferation of Compton through the music, it kind of accelerated people's interest in Compton, and of course I was the mayor at the time. I did work closely with the Nation of Islam to develop the Million Man March. I did start unity festivals, which was our chance to try to say, look, he went to Compton, I went to Centennial, they went to Dominguez. We don't shoot each other behind that.
Right.
We don't shoot each other behind colors. We don't shoot any people behind the park because we're bigger than that. And then, of course, Venus and Serena, Dennis Johnson. I can go down the list. Compton has more gold medals than any city in the world per capita.
See?
And when people talk about Long Beach Poly, it's only because they don't know the history of Compton, Centennial, and Dominguez.
Which is why this, these types of shows are so
They're
very
so
important.
important because we have to tell our history.
I know. Yeah, people don't even get it. They don't even understand. I'm like, I think they hear a name or they hear the hype. Oh my God, Omar Bradley. I'm like, you didn't know that? How can you form an opinion about Omar Bradley if you don't even understand the basics of who he is? Which is why the King of Compton is so very necessary.
Well, the King of Compton was a name that people who were very angry with me donned me with. I never said I was king of anything. But what I learned from my parents is when someone gives you a bag of lemons, make some lemonade.
That's that
And
9 on you. That's that 5'9".
That's the May
on you.
9th thing.
That
So
5'9".
I just seriously took the name attached to my book.
Yep.
And I think in the very near future, people are going to hear from that book on a global level, and it will kind of detail the difficulties of growing up in Compton. I mean, I don't want to be a punk, but if you fight me, I'm going to fight back. Right? And if you're at Compton...
That makes you intelligent.
Or right, Malcolm X.
Come on.
I mean, if you're at Compton or Centennial Dominguez, you're not going to let people keep taking your donuts.
Right.
At some point, you're going to
it's
swing.
blowing up.
Okay?
I know, right? Right. It's going down.
And
It's
so,
going down.
in Europe or in China, in Africa, there were times. I can tell you this. I went to Harlem one time. I was on business with the city trying to get a bond. This was a non-profit bond, so you didn't have to pay taxes because I never taxed the citizens ever. But I'm in Harlem, and I wanted to go to the corner of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Boulevard. I was a Malcolmite. I grew up loving Malcolm. I get there, and some thugs roll up on me. And I mean, they like, you know, how much is your watch? How much is your coat? I know what's next. Take it off, right? And they said, well, you know, you're not from here. Where you from? And I said, I'm from Compton. And they was like, what?
See?
I said, I'm from Compton. I'm going to tell you something. I want to know how much your watch is. How much your hat cost.
That part.
Guess what? Anybody taking clothes off today is going to be you.
Your ass.
And it's not me. But see, then that is a part of us that
Compton
you cannot
pimpin'.
extrapolate from us. You cannot take Compton out of Compton folks.
Cannot. You should know.
No.
That's why I don't even start with people. Because
I mean, and if you go somewhere and they say, you from California, you from LA, you say, no, I'm from Compton.
Oh, absolutely. I've been on that same corner of MLK and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X Boulevard.
Anthony
So
Kennedy was like, that's right.
right.
Tiny Michelle says she loves it. Thank you, Facebook. I got to see what's cracking on YouTube, too.
Yeah. And I've got, texts coming in saying that you truly care about the city, and it's that you care about the city and not what the city can do for you, but what you can do for the city. And that's so refreshing to hear from politicians, which is true.
I know.
Well, I can tell you this. You know, love is far more powerful than anything else on the planet. And I knew that as a young man. I had an injury playing football, and people don't believe this story when I say it, but I'll tell it. My brother can verify this. I had a broken leg, and I played on the first black Pop Warner team to ever win the state championship. So I get my leg broke at the end of the year, and they take me to the doctor, and I'm wondering why. Okay, so what's wrong with my leg? And the next week we go to church, which is in Compton, and they say, well, when church is over with, Omar, you stay. And I'm like, I'm 9.
Why am I staying?
Wait a minute, right? So all these people from Compton at this church, they start touching me on my head. And they were crying. And I'm like, what's going on here? You know, my brother Wayne, who was also your husband's coach and deceased, may rest in peace. He's sitting out my parents' car, and then I say, okay, little boy, go on and go outside with your brother. And I'm like, wait, this is really like 3 o'clock now, you know, Baptist church, 1:45.
All day.
Please.
Bring a lunch.
BTU starts at 3:30. I want to go home and eat. So I go out to the car, and I said, Wayne, what's going on? And he says, oh, they're cutting your leg off tomorrow.
What?
And I said, what? So anyway, my parents came outside, and I was crying, and Wayne got a whooping. But went to the doctor the next day, and he said, I'm going to take one more look at these tumors. And I was paralyzed with fear. And he came back in, and he had a sucker. He said, son, I don't know what happened to you, but your tumors are no longer cancerous. You can go. Now, I looked at that story a long time, and I thought maybe this is a concoction in my head. But I get a phone call from a neighbor who went to school with me. Loretta, may I call you? Loretta, she was a classmate of mine from kindergarten. She says, come to my house. My father is dying. And I said, okay, I'm on my way. I get there, and he looks up and he says, don't you ever forget what happened with your leg. Wow. And he was gone, like a day or two later. That was in the throes of going through, you know, being convicted and being indicted and getting out of prison, can't find a job. This man sent for me in his last days to remind me what love does. I don't want you to give up. I don't want you to quit. Remember what happened with your leg. Remember the people that prayed for you, the power and the love we put around you. And so even today, I'm able to walk with kings but never lose my common touch, because I know nothing that I did was me. It was the love that people put in me.
Got it.
You see, and if we can take our community and elevated to the point where, you know, like I stopped kids with their pants under their butts, and I said, "Hey, man, come here. You know you hurting my feelings." What you mean? That's because I love you, son. I don't want to see you like this.
Right.
And they literally pull them up because it's not that I'm judging you. I'm telling you, you're not gonna make it in this society like that. I don't care how many rappers they show you. I don't care how many models they put before you. I don't care how many people get paid for disrespecting our women and terrorizing our community and making us look like thugs. Let me tell you something, son. In this real world, you are not getting hired
That's so true.
with your buttocks sticking out the back of your pants. And I love you enough to stop you and tell you that.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm 64. I probably can't whoop them, but if I have to, I'll try.
Yes.
Because like my daddy said, I'd rather whip you than pick you up from the police station.
Yes.
And so,
Definitely.
you know, this is why, you know, Compton is a great opportunity for black and brown people to show how great of a people we are. Songhai, Shantae, all these great empires we built. Spain. We built this stuff. People learned from us how to be civilized. We have a city. It's ours to reshape in our own image. And the basic element that makes it what it is the love that we had growing up. That these youngsters aren't getting. Okay?
What do you think when you see the state of the city right now?
It's hurtful to me. I literally cry sometimes because when people drive through Compton, they are supposed to see the best in us. They shouldn't see a piece of paper. They should not see weeds. The trees should be trimmed because the moment they get out of Compton, they said, I just drove through Compton and it is a mess. So to that end, I hired the Crips and the Pyrus and the Vados. And I sit them down and said, listen, man, we're going to work together. We're going to make the town beautiful. And what happens is when they become a part of it, they don't want to tear it up anymore. One year, I brought in a Latin gang, and I said, hey, man, you know, I fed them dinner. I said, let me show you something. It was like a bill for $700,000 worth of paint, graffiti paint. And they said, why are you showing us this? I said, because this is what it costs to take your name down on the fence. Right. Check what I'm going to do. I'm going to start hiring y'all, and you're going to get hired out of this money. Now, dig this. The less I have to spend on graffiti paint, the more of you I can hire.
Absolutely.
To plant roses, to plant flowers, to get up the trash. And, you know, people, the Times, they would say he's a crook because he spends $4,999 to hire these villains. Well, either I'm going to put them to work or they coming to work in your neighborhood.
Right.
Now, what do you want?
Right.
And it's not a mystery murder field when I was there because I'm going to hire you before you start killing. You know, I'm going to put you to work. I'm going to give you, and I'm going to tell you, listen, when you get your check, you go take care of your kids. Don't you go out and buy some clothes. And I could do that because I'm in the hood. You know, I can come down to your house and say, man, what'd you do with your check, bro?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, we just might as well jump and go even further into the ocean.
Oh,
right?
no, not the
a little
ocean.
further into the ocean. And, you know, you shared your sentiments about where you think Compton should be and the potential that is there in the city and what people should feel when they drive through our city. There's been controversy as to whether or not people believe Emma Sharif has the ability to lead us to that space. Do you have any thoughts about Emma's leadership? I think she just made 1 year as the new mayor, right?
Anyone that loves Compton and has the mental acuity to read the agenda and understand what the problems are can lead Compton. The question is, are you willing to listen to those who have been in that position and follow what works? I had 663 employees in Compton for 10 years. I never laid one employee off. You have less than 200 employees. You have no park and recreation staff at all. All the parks are closed. You have,
That's hard.
youth crime is our greatest battle. And so our greatest efforts have to be where our youth are. So if you have a surplus of funds that comes in for COVID relief, you don't give people raises. You hire the park and recreation staff back, and you bring the kids back around the adults who are going to teach and lead and be parents. When you are a coach, you are the person you are coaching's parent for 2 hours a day. And I can tell you how significant this is. Had a kid that passed out at practice, and my brother was so mad at him. This is at Centennial, and he knows who he is. He says, man, why are you playing like you out? I know you 10 wind sprints. And when we get the kid up, he says, Coach, I'm hungry. So this is like a Thursday. When was the last time you ate? Monday. Why aren't you eating? Well, my mother's on crack, and she spends all the money, and the dude that sells it to her, he comes and he takes the food card. Well, let me just say this. I can guarantee you he never came back to that house. And I'm not going to say why, but what I'm going to say is if you're not there with the young men, if you're not spending time with them, if you're not loving on them and saying, hey, man, why aren't you eating? Then you'll never know. And if that same kid then breaks in and steals something to try to eat, he's going to jail. So the love element and being connected to the community is important. I think if I was mayor once again, and I can't be, but if I was.
Well, we have followers that want you to run again.
But I can't. The one crime that they found that they could convict me of, where I could never run again, is the one they chose. And believe me, I was literally charged with buying a bowl of oatmeal. People don't know that. I had like 4 in-room movies at $250 a piece. Guilty. Should have paid for the movies yourself. While I'm bringing home $16 million from Washington, D.C. These are facts. They're not frauds. You can go and pull a case. But who amongst us is going to come to court for 3 months? Who amongst us is going to put the money up to buy lawyers? Who's going to sell their house? I had to do all that. But I don't regret it. What I'm saying is, Emma can be a great mayor, but she has to understand what greatness comes from. It's not about you. It's about what you do for people. So when we built the bus system, and I take credit for the white buses.
You should.
I said, go get all of the single mothers that you can and teach them how to drive the buses.
There you go.
What do you mean? What about the men? I said, the men got a job. We're going to take these sisters that have kids, and we're going to teach them how. And when they went on to the RTD, go ahead, fly. Do what you can do. But now watch. When the RTD would go on strike, the little old Compton bus would still be chugging right
That's right. See, you know us, we always going to make it happen. You know, Compton.
Right along. Absolutely.
And guess what? In honor of our tar base, we painted them blue and white. You know, I tried to get one red bus.
He couldn't get one red bus.
Get one red bus. And then the other things that I did, like, Gardena has a bus line. And they drive through Compton and they don't pay a dime.
That's so freaking true. Because they should bring students to Compton High. The Gardena bus.
They don't pay a dime. And I'm like telling my city manager, look here, chief, you better figure out how to make them pay, because I will go down there. And see, that's my problem. My problem was
you hands-on. Knock, knock. Who is it? The mayor.
Hello.
The mayor of Compton's outside.
See, that's what I like.
And are you Martin Luther King said, a man is not fit to live unless he's found something he's willing to die for. And at one point, not now, because I just had my 5th great grandchild.
Oh my God! Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I have to live for them now.
Yes.
You know.
That's so true. Yay, right, Rashid. Thank you, King. God bless you.
I know that there's somebody coming that's going to have the same vigor and zeal and fearlessness that I used to have. I'm not fearful. I'm a little more wise, a little more cautious. I understand what solitary confinement is now. Yeah, it's not a fun thing.
I don't know. I don't know how we break this cycle.
Gotta be
Okay, let's see what Facebook is telling us.
Yeah.
No, what are you saying, Stacey?
No, I was just saying it's in my 50 years in Compton.
Let's see, Robert. Go ahead, Lori.
It seems like we may get a few steps ahead, but then we always end up
right back,
right? And I don't know what that is.
See, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No. I was just going to tell you about Mr. Rodney Lister, who I have a lot of respect for.
I do.
Hello,
We had
Rodney.
Hey,
Good
Rodney.
evening in Facebook, but I have a lot of respect for Rodney Lister. And what he just said to you, Mayor Bradley, said, I have so much respect for Omar. I may not have agreed with his methods, but what I do know is that he loved our city. And much respect. Everything you're saying right now is 100% on point.
Well, I do know that gentleman, and I share his sometimes. Okay, no one liked Jesus, and I'm not a Jesus, but nobody liked him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you read the scripture closely, everywhere he went, they tried to kill him, and Peter literally had to, slice somebody because when something is new and different, it's hard to understand it. It's, people wanted the Compton PD. I get that. And I understand the tradition and the value of having a police department that is homegrown. But there's some other elements that I knew that I couldn't tell the
people. Right.
I can't say certain things because, of course, it would cost the city a great deal of money. But here's what I ask people all the time, and this is not to you, Brother Lister. This is just in general. If you're calling the police, one comes in an average of 3.5 hours. The other one comes in an average of 3.5 minutes.
Do the math.
One shows up, they're black. The other one shows up, they could be white, brown, black, and they're not from Compton. The question that one has to ask themselves is, which one would you call? And when murder reached its zenith, and 1 year got to be like 135 in a year, there's only 52 weeks in a year.
Right.
So you're talking about a murder every 7 days, every 5 days. And oftentimes, Lori, there would be no one to pay for these funerals. And that's it. That meant, and I'm not bragging, because these were some of the most painful things in my life. I got to go into my bank account, and I got to pay to bury a child. In one case in particular, and I'll share this with the viewers, I was called to a murder, which I went to every homicide. I don't care what time it happened. Because when people saw me, if they were there for their loved one, it meant something to them that I came. So there's this kid, he's sitting in front of the transit center, and he's 9, and he's got one brother that's 7, and another one that's 5. He's at the bus stop. And according to the police records, the Crips start shooting at some Pyrus who are behind him. So he grabs his 2 little brothers and he runs. And in his attempt to save his brothers, a bullet pierces him and kills him. And there is no money to bury this child. And I made the statement that this child will be buried properly, and he will have a funeral. Now, of course, I would have rather saved him.
Absolutely.
But
yes.
I could not be everywhere. I'm only human.
Yes.
But we buried this child in grand fashion. And then 2 weeks later, I was going to the seat as the mayor, and the gentleman walked up and said, "Here." And I grabbed the envelope, and he said, "You've been served." So I opened the envelope, and the parents of this child is suing me.
Wow.
See?
Because they said, "You should have given us the money and let us pay for everything." Well, there's a difference between me saying, "How much are you going to charge me, Adam's Funeral Home?" I forget the guy that had the limousine service, but you would remember him. He was from Compton. It's a different when I ask. I can get things for less. And it paralyzed me. I was never again the same. I still did my job, but I began to understand that sometimes you just can't help people.
Mama used to say that all. Mama used to say that.
That's true.
You see, you can't help everybody. Cool. Mr. Lister says, question, what is your way of the new composition of our current council and city manager? And do you believe they have it in them to be impetus of change in our city of Compton?
Anything is possible. And so I don't like to cultivate negativity.
Yes, sir.
And my father used to say, if you can't say something good,
Don't say anything.
don't say anything.
Yes.
I can tell you what made for a good council. Mrs. Rita served senior citizens for 30 years
She certainly did.
before she ever ran for office. Marcine Shaw was the developer of all these Pop Warner programs and cheerleader programs before she ever ran for office. Walter R. Tucker III served Compton as its dentist. I mean, when you go down the line, you got to put in some work before you get into office. That is the way that you find the gravitas, the will to help the people. It doesn't just come overnight, and it's not something that you just say, "Oh, gee, I coached Pop Warner, I coached basketball, I coached high school football, I taught school, I did all that stuff before I ever decided to go into governance, and I could literally see where the needs were. I know I'm being a little gregarious.
If it is what it is.
But imagine going to a homicide, seeing 3 little girls out in the middle of the street, and having the father of one of those girls say, "This was my daughter's last words." I don't want to hear that, because I got a little girl. But he said, my daughter in my arms said, "Daddy, why?" He said, "Mr. Bradley, I'm asking you, why?" And that, listen, I don't care what your job was in City Hall, you better be doing it.
Wow.
And to be honest with you, that night, the set that had the little girl shot went into the other set and killed another little girl. I'm 4 a.m, get to that house, and it's one of my students. No. So, you understand? This is not about hip-hop music.
Right. It's so much bigger.
It's not about you having dreadlocks or braids. This is not about who knows you.
Right, for sure.
This is about getting up out your bed and going to take care of people.
Yes.
Feeding the hungry, visiting the sick.
Yes.
I think, I know you know Miss Kemp.
Oh, yes.
And I'm not
Life
bragging
changes.
on this. Every day, I went to Miss Kemp for 2 years. Every day. And I rubbed her feet. And I rubbed her back. And I would read
amazing.
Psalms to her.
Yeah, it's an amazing woman.
You know why?
She was.
When I met Robin at Compton High School, Miss Kemp, and I'm serious, this is no lie, I'm about to play against Compton. And she called me, and I'm in red, to the fist, and said, "Don't you mess over my little girl, you hear me?" I don't even know you, lady, right? But I'm saying that was the kind of cohesiveness that people that didn't know you would say, "Well, listen, son, you know, you better put that cigarette out." And they'd go to war against you just so you wouldn't light up a cool.
Right.
You better not have any weed.
Oh, man. Big trouble.
And the struggle in Compton now is, and I'll be open with it, who's going to sell weed?
Right.
And to me, and I don't care who likes it. I don't care if you smoke weed or not. Smoke it at your house. Go cop it where you want to catch it. But do you know when you got a weed shop in Compton, somebody's going to get killed?
That's so true.
You understand? And those of you who are watching, who are my enemies, I don't care. You open 25, 75 weed shops that are operating out front. And then you run in the houses of these little brothers just trying to sell weed.
Right.
Just trying to make it. They can't afford a storefront.
Right. Right.
They gonna run into the houses, and the stores are the ones you in cahoots with.
Right. Right.
And so you have videotapes all over Facebook and everywhere else of little black boys getting killed by Koreans and people that you're doing business with, and your murder rate is starting to accelerate because you done let the devil up out of his hole. You understand? And I don't care how much money you make. I don't care. When people are dying behind your decisions, then you better understand there is a God. You're going to look at him in your face. Your mama can't come. Your daddy can't come. He going to ask you, when you made that decision, did you not know that these young people were going to be trying to buy weed? Listen, and you know, you 13, you're going to find a bum to go in and buy your weed.
Well, that's true.
I mean, I did it at Moe's liquor store. If I wanted some wine, it's just bums all over the place. Hey, man, here's every dollar. You go get me some booze for him. So, you know, the school district is reporting that the kids are coming to school high. And maybe the weed's not killing them, but the fact that they can't do math, the fact that they can't read and write, and some of y'all just don't care. But see, you won't want me to be the mayor.
No. What about a pardon? Can a pardon get us there?
Yeah, but ain't nobody gonna pardon me.
Why not?
Because you know what? Guess what? We're not gonna beg nobody's pardon.
Okay.
You know,
Word up.
I'm happy to report that at the last trial, are we running out of time?
No.
At the last trial, the judge says, hey, if you just say you guilty, just plead guilty to a misdemeanor, I will let you go home. I'll even help you get your teaching credential and all. And I said, no.
No.
He said, well, you know, you may go to jail. I said, but check this out. Martin took a bullet so Omar Bradley, at 9 years old, could grow up to be the mayor. Malcolm took a bullet so that Omar Bradley can grow up to be the mayor. Medgar Evers got shot in his back in front of his kids so Omar Bradley could grow up and be the mayor.
Very
so
true.
Guess what? If they could take a bullet, I could take a bunk. Now, I don't want to go to jail. Man, jail ain't no joke.
Oh,
But I can tell you one thing, if you're from Compton, you ain't going to be lonely.
Greg Wood says, good evening, Mr. Bradley.
Brother Greg. And you know, which is two Greg Woods now.
Bernice Wood.
Well, you know, I love him. Listen, Greg was with me for some of those adventures, and we're not going to talk about it, Brother Greg. 'Cause I don't know. You know, we would have to teach people a lesson.
Wow. But Omar, I thought, wasn't there something that said they were trying to overturn the decisions or against you?
They did get overturned, but when the DA saw I was going to run again, they made the same pitch. If you run, we're going to prosecute you. I mean, they were always clear about this. It wasn't like television. Hey, bro, you run, we're going to take you to court. And I would say, well, get it ready, because I'm running, because guess what? You will not do this to black people. If you think you can punk us by threatening us with jail and prison, you got the wrong dude, man. Because I'm telling you, man, you go to prison, it's a Compton thing. I hate to say it, But it's so many of us in there. I used to go to lunch with 150 cats around me.
Wow.
You know, and they would tell me, ain't nobody gonna touch you, bro.
That's
So,
something.
no, but it wasn't fun.
No,
And,
no.
you know, I got sick, caught tuberculosis, it led to a massive heart attack. That was the price I was willing to pay. And there's some other little Omars running around. You just don't get it. There's some cats that are going to look at me and say, this dude wasn't scared of nobody. Just like I looked at Malcolm, and I looked at Martin,
Right.
and I looked at Megger, and these dudes were fearless.
And that is what I see in you. That is what I saw in you,
Absolutely.
particularly during your tenure as mayor. There was always that power that just, I don't know, like I think you've explained it to me now. It came into you as opposed to you putting it out.
I'm powerless.
Right? Yes.
I'm powerless. God is infinitely powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can, you know, I'm in prison and I'm like, let me talk to you, Vato. Hey, man, we ain't having no ride today.
Speaking of which,
Why not? Because we just not. And so the power of God is fearless. Moses had to go and tell Pharaoh, the most powerful man in the world, let mine go. I don't really, you know, I'm under orders. I got to tell you this. And so I'm not a Moses. Because, you know, there's a lot of people tomorrow, the boy said he was Jesus. No, and I understand because you can't say it. But it's the thing that, you know, a fearless black man is a danger to the world.
it is. Yeah.
Because other men will say, oh,
I can do that too.
yeah, we don't have to take this. But a loving black man is even more powerful. I wish I could have you walk in my shoes. I had a kid, graduates from college. He says, Mr. Bradley, I came to your house to tell you something. I graduated. I said, okay, I don't even know who this kid is. He said, I got a football scholarship. I'm like, good. He said, you don't remember me, huh? I said, no. He said, one day, I didn't have a father, so my mother was trying to teach me how to snap the ball. And you drove by, and you backed up, you got out your car. You said, excuse me, miss. Let me show him how to do this. And, you know, I told him it's got to snap, you know. You can't just, you know, you got to snap and hit, right? So this kid got a scholarship. Now, I could have kept going, but it ain't me that got out that car. What got out that car is the spirit of those old people that prayed that my leg wouldn't get cut off. The spirit of Bernice Woods, who was my mentor. You know, Miss Woods was such a beautiful person.
Yeah.
Yes, she was.
Yes.
Just,
So kind.
you know, and people took her for granted. But she was a diamond. And my mother's friend in PTA. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I do. I mean, I think that leads us to, we talk about this in our home a lot, is that people somehow think people just show up and you didn't have a testimony, you didn't have an experience. You just showed up, woke up one morning, and you're the mayor, right? Or you woke up one morning and you're this and you're that. But there's a journey and a process to that, right? And what I'm hearing from you is that you had lived experiences that created and shaped your heart for the city you love. And through that lens is the lens through which you became a true
Yes.
public servant. And in my observation of some leadership, it's not through that lens.
Well, only in Compton. My mother and Miss Woods were friends. And she used to say, boy, when you were a baby, your head was so big that me and your mother had to drive all the way to East LA to find a bonnet.
Oh my gosh. No way.
Miss Woods,
That's funny.
I'm on the phone with the governor. You get off that phone, I'm talking to you. Excuse me, Governor.
That's
Miss
right.
Woods, because we had that basic understanding that the elders were important. We had a basic understanding that the teachers were important. The principal, he's important. I'm not gonna have my mother come down here and fight with you. Matter of fact, please don't call my mother.
Exactly.
What are you gonna do to me? Okay, even if I'm innocent, let's do this now because My mother could whip her high heel off like Clint Eastwood could take his gun off. And she would beat you. Now, even if it didn't hurt,
Right.
you had to pretend like it hurt.
Yeah.
So she wouldn't say, wait till your daddy.
Oh, yeah, you don't want that one.
And so how do I get... Hey, man, the greatest thing on earth is to be a father.
Amen.
To be able to say, no, son, you can't go out there and fight them. You know, it's just you and it's them. Well, Daddy, yeah, but look, I got black eyes and knots on my head. No, we're going to let that one pass because you're going to go on to do this or that. And so we got a lot of work in our community that may supersede what happens in the council. Right now, we've got 3 very important struggles. The most important one is the struggle between the black man and the black woman. That must stop.
Yes, sir.
You say you like Frankie Beverly?
I do.
We are one.
We are one.
I can't get here without you. You can't get here without me.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Right. Greg Woods says that one thing for sure, Omar, you love and care about the people of Compton just like he does. And just says thank you.
If Greg could tell you, which I'm sure he won't, but literally, and I want you to understand this, literally, nights when the police would try to set me up, we would literally have to fight to get out the room. They tried everything. And he was there for some of it. Everything. I couldn't even go anywhere. I would have to come someplace with 15 or 20 men. Wow. And people would say, look at them, they thugs. No, we would be in suits. But we would be clear. Now listen, if you don't really want this, do you? Because ain't nobody ride with me, a chump. And
Is this after you're...
this is while I'm the mayor.
While you're the mayor.
I could never say to the people, you have no idea what I'm living.
Yes. Omar,
So
I want to tell your son is here on the feed, and he says, leadership is a sacrifice, my sister. And I shared our father with multiple children our age that now call him dad. It is a blessing to have so many adopted brothers and sisters today. Thank you and bless you so much, Omar Rashad Bradley.
And take care of my great grandbaby.
Aww.
So
How sweet.
I cherish Omar. Omar has witnessed far more than a young man should for his father to go through. When I see my son, the moment he sees me, he hugs me. He just holds on to me. And
Thank you.
I know he has capacities to do things that the city needs. The question is, am I God and am I willing to lay my son on the altar of destruction? Because I don't really think the community really understands what they do to black leaders. And when I say that Greg Wood can competently testify that when we went places, I could not go by myself. I could not go without 15 or 20 stalwart, sometimes armed men, because the hatred for me to kick the state out of our school district, where listen, you have forgotten, Compton, they passed $209 million worth of bonds on your back with the state administrator. They said you only owed $9 million. When the state left there, you were $3 million in debt, $300 million.
Jesus.
So don't you get it? Don't you get it that the state will come down and bankrupt a city like Compton? Don't you get it that they promised you a new school and they gave you bungalows? Don't you get it? Don't you remember when they were burning our buildings down? And I got my men together and we put men at Compton, Centennial, Dominguez, Davis, Walton, Willowbrook. I can go down the line. See, I'm really from here.
That part.
I know where they all are.
Right.
And this last mayor, she didn't know where any of them were. But you
No
loved
comment.
her till she broke you off. But we put men in front of
She did.
She did.
in front of the schools, and when I went when the fires, this is a true story. When the fires just stopped, because we put men from the community at every school, the ATF said, well, maybe he started it. Arrested one of my friends and tried to make him say that.
No.
Gave him a case, took him to court, and when I walked in the courtroom in a federal court building for my friend, the judge said, I will not conduct this trial with that man in here. They made me leave, but that's all the jury needed to see. And when I got to that courtroom, there was FBI agents standing at the door like they was gonna stop me from getting in there for my friend.
So accusing you of starting the fire.
They accused me of starting it and tried to turn a brother that was a friend, a bodyguard of mine. I could bring him in, had him indicted, said he tried to kill somebody, and had Compton PDs lined up to testify to a lie.
Do you think all of this hatred stemmed from your decision to get rid of the PD in Compton and bring in the sheriff?
That was part of it. But the other part of it is, how dare you not be cowardice before us? How dare you? When we walked to that courtroom, I can tell you, I had my brother and one other guy. It was about maybe 10 FBI's standing at the door. And when we walked up, my brother said, you take those three, I'm gonna take these three, and Omar, you take this big one right here. Because we're going in here to get this brother out. Because it was a farce. I mean, it was a total farce. And he got word to us, hey, they want me to say you started the, I burnt Centennial.
Why? It's so stupid.
That's so stupid.
Come on.
But I was listening to or reading an interview and I don't know the date of it, that you had with Spectrum One News, and you had this quote that landed on me, that racism is as American as apple pie. And I think in alignment with what you're talking about now, can you share with our listeners what you meant by that?
Well, I have to give Eldridge Cleaver his due. That was his quote. I read Soul on Ice when I was 9 years old. And when I read that line, I said, racism is, okay, so all this rancor about guns, where was that when you were shooting Indians?
Speak on it.
And all this rancor about the Second Amendment, you violate black people's rights every day. And you care nothing about the Constitution when it comes to us. We could go to Shamir Rice, you could just go down the list, and you wonder if they even realize we are watching you, white America. We see what you do, and we don't believe in you anymore. You are no longer with us at all, because we see this. And of course, the white shooters, they go shoot people and they end up going to court. Try mass shooting if you're black or brown and Indian and see if you get in a trial.
Right.
You understand? You're dead.
I understand. Absolutely.
And here's the thing. I have to be honest with you. I mean, I know they're watching tonight.
Yes,
and the thing is I get it. I mean, you want to keep your country the way it is, and you want the benefits of being European in this world. Okay, that's cool. Feel me? Do your thing. But at least try to be truthful to the stuff you used to make us stand up and say in class. Don't make me watch another John Wayne movie if I can't be John Wayne. If I can't be a hero in my community, then you can't be one in yours. And black heroes are dangerous things, because they see little boys looking saying, oh, Omar Bradley came to our school today and he bought 1,200 tacos. And when the kids say, well, why did you bring us tacos, Mr. Bradley? Because I love you.
Yeah.
Eat, have a good day.
Yes.
I set the record at Taco Bell on Rosecrans and Central. When they would see me coming,
they'd be like, oh no,
here he
Jesus, here comes the 1,200 taco order. But do you know the joy of little kids, be they brown or black.
Yeah.
And you just walk in and say, hey, I'm buying this, y'all hungry.
Exactly.
Okay, and the teacher's like, you can't do that. Yeah, I just did it. Call the principal. Oh, I'm sorry, she's eating too. You know what I'm saying? And that's the power of being who we really are, and to love people enough to just think, what would I have wanted when I was growing up? I saw Ronald Reagan when I was 10. My football team won the state championship. You should have seen their faces when they flew us to Sacramento and we were all black, right? I mean, he was like, how'd y'all win? Because you know we cheat. So he has to give us these gold footballs. Darren Nelson, who played for the Minnesota Vikings, and Jeffrey Griffin, who played for the the St. Louis Cardinals. We had a great team. Freeman McNeil, we were great. And I looked at him, and he gave me my football, and I shook his hand, and I said, I'm going to come back here one day. And I did. See, if I can stand with the governor, I can be the governor.
Absolutely.
If I can stand with the mayor, I can be the mayor. So you want to fix Compton? Love it. Don't be so full of yourself you can't listen. Don't be so hateful that you... why won't you fix the monument I built? That's the biggest monument that is the largest monument to Cesar Chavez in the world. His wife was standing there when we...
Because it's what you said. People have got to love Compton, right? It's what one of our social media individuals text earlier is that you're not self-serving, right?
Well, I could be. I might have done some things for myself. I'm not gonna, listen.
I don't think that is at least what I'm learning. I don't think that's the lens of which you approach your job.
I wasn't in it for the money.
Right.
No. And there are 600 hours of videotape. Get them from the FBI that they tried to get me. And there's a clip, I'm going to send it to you, where the lawyer for Patricia Moore said they just kept trying to get him and he kept on saying no. So, but that's not what I'm saying, and I could have been self-serving from this standpoint.
I remember that.
I felt good being the mayor, so I wanted to be the best mayor I could be. That made me feel good. But look, let's talk about that monument for a second.
Okay, sure. I love that monument.
I built the monument because there was a 13-year-old boy who was a Latino killed not far from that monument. And his grandmother wanted to talk to me. And just... listening to a woman that has lost everything she loved.
Yeah.
I felt like, we got to do something for our brown brothers.
Yeah.
To let them know
we
feeling this.
Right.
And like we feel Uvalde, Texas. I cried when I watched that.
I know.
Oh,
And
yes.
I'm not a crier.
Absolutely.
But you see, and the monument made sure she was there to meet the great Cesar Chavez's wife and his daughter and his hey, this is about your son. This is what you inspired me to do. That's what stops you from having to spend so much money on police. I didn't have to do that. I was able to take the police money and spend that on the people.
There you
get
go.
it?
Right.
I'd rather spend money to keep you out of prison than have to put you there because you went in to kill somebody or rob somebody. It's not a complex formula. It's real simple. I love you, and I want to see you do the best you can. I love your mother. I love your father. I love my neighbor. And if you guys start practicing that, then Compton is going to change overnight. But these wars that we have, they just bring more war. You hit me, I'm going to hit you back. And that's where we lose. Okay.
Basically.
That is so very true.
We've got a lot of feedback here tonight. We've got a lot of listeners. And I say, hello, we have Miss Robin Bradley in the house tonight. Yes, ma'am.
Mamacita.
Yeah. I was just going to say that we got a little bit of opposition too in the feeds tonight. How are you, Miss Foster? So Miss Foster doesn't know if she believes in your philosophies, Mr. Bradley. So we do have a lot of love for you here in the feed, but Miss Foster says she's not necessarily sure that she believes in your philosophy.
Well, that's fine.
Absolutely.
And I say to you, you know, the power of your vote is the execution of your right to protest.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the problem. 4,000 people out of 100,000 people vote.
That's
Now, what
staggering.
does that tell you about the execution of the power that you do have? And more importantly, and this is for you, Miss Foster, enjoy the potholes.
Not the
Enjoy
potholes.
the lack of grass. And enjoy the flowers that are missing now. Enjoy the homeless people. Because I want to tell you something. They weren't there when I was the mayor. If you were homeless and you were willing to come to Compton City Hall, put down the alcohol or the weed, you could work, Miss Foster. Because I wasn't looking for rocket scientists. I was looking for people.
Yeah.
And we trimmed every tree in Compton. We paved every street in Compton. We changed the crosswalks and we put cut and cover crosswalks. We built fountains. We trimmed we built swimming pools. Credit Miss Zarita for that. We did things for the people, and it wasn't about us. And it's still not about me. I know, I get it. See, I'm one of those bigger than life folks.
Yes,
I'm
you are.
such a big person. I mean, in stature, that sometimes I come off as arrogant. And I'm not trying to be arrogant. What I'm trying to be is your brother.
Right.
That's all.
Well, Terabana, she had a good question for Miss Foster that she posed, and so she just wanted to know, had Miss Foster just ever had an opportunity to just really sit down and talk with you, and, you know, or is she essentially going by hearsay? You see what I'm saying? A lot of people. But anyway, so I just wanted to make sure we
Tarabana.
talked about,
So, Tara Barner lost a child. And she asked me, would I just come and be with the family? And I said, I'll be there. I mean, you know, there's no money in this.
Right. Yeah.
But that family needed their mayor. And I was there.
Yes, you
so
were.
I don't really, I understand you know, you heard so much about me and you really like to jump on me. I get it. But, you know, it's kind of like I can't make you all happy. I can't know you all. I couldn't be there for everybody. But I did give up a lot that you probably don't know about. And no matter what you think, I can guarantee you, even if you were angry with me, if something happened to you in Compton when I was mayor, I would be there
Yes.
for you.
That's very true.
We call.
We have another social media says grassroots efforts with an exclamation mark. But when the white man does it, they are applauded. The African American man or politician does it, they believe that the strategy is flawed. Yeah.
It's a conspiracy. I literally, you know, when I tell people in this second trial against me, the judge in my case said, well, no, we're not going to read the Supreme Court ruling that you had to get off.
Is that
of
like
this.
double jeopardy? Can they
Absolutely.
do that?
They can because they did. So they did not.
Wow.
They did not
Okay.
read what the Supreme Court said about my case. So they would never have tried me. And by the way, Kamala Harris was instrumental in me being tried again. But let's be for real now.
Not Kamala.
Floss.
So,
got an
so
issue
let's
there, too.
be for real. This is real stuff. You talk about the Constitution, and when you try to apply it to a black man or woman, it doesn't fit. Because when it was written, it was not written for us. You see black people shot down in the street by the police, and you say that's a shame. That boy was just driving down the street. But when you saw me get prosecuted for a bowl of oatmeal, being in a hotel room that even the hotel manager said I wasn't in, but still found guilty. You can believe that. And you want to know how you can believe that about me? Because look at me. Who does he think he is?
That's what they say.
What does he? Look at him.
They used to say that about you.
And you know who
Yes,
I
they
am? I'm the bump in the night when somebody bothers you. You gotta have brothers like me. I'm not calling the police. You call me down the street, somebody's in my front yard, I'll be there in 5 minutes. And when you murder that out of black men, when you don't let us be men, why do I gotta be a punk in order for you to love me? Why can't you love me like I am? I'm your son. I get up when the phone rings. Listen, you have no idea. Even now, people say, you know what? You're still the mayor. Because when your children are murdered, you call me. When your sons are arrested, you call me. You don't call Eric. You don't call Asia Brown. You don't call any of them.
Wow, yeah.
And I stay there until the coroner picks up the body. I go to the store for you. I take my last dime and I feed you. And then you grow up to hate me. You believe anything said about me because you can accept me. But all of us aren't dead. All the real black men, we're not gone. We're still here. We still love our women. We still protect our children. We still come home at night. We still get falsely accused.
Mac Rosales from our feed says he agrees with you, Mayor, and he says that the system just was not built for us. It was just not built for us, and that no matter what we do, we're not going to win. You know what I'm saying? He says basically if they want to get you, they're going to get you.
You're done.
Yeah.
And if you won't tell on your comrades, and guess what? What if you don't know anything about it?
Right. Really, I
What am
just
I
don't
do
know.
now? Tell us something about Amin Ra. I don't know.
I don't know anything.
I know.
You know something, but I don't. And and literally, my house is raided. They run in there with guns. I've got little girls, my grandchildren, in the house. They got me and my wife sitting on a couch, and now the big investigator comes in and he says, well, Mr. Bradley, this will go light on you if you tell us what we want to know. So is there anything you have to say? I said, yeah, get the F out my house, dog. I don't know you. You sit on my chair and stuff like you live here. You not welcome. You dug my jacuzzi up. You went through all my stuff.
What are they looking for?
Whatever they could find.
God.
Of what, though?
Whatever they could find.
Anything, Russian?
Evidence of basically like any wrongdoing. Whenever they actually do a search of your premise of your house, they present this quote unquote no knock warrant that they get from the higher ups. They didn't get that. Supposed to. Again.
Well, let me ask you this. What was the purpose on the warrant that killed Fred Hampton? What was the purpose on the wiretaps of Malcolm X?
Wow.
A man who was so clean in his living
for sure.
that he didn't commit adultery. He only ate once a day. He loved his wife. What was the motive for burning his house? See, brother, this is what I understand the book and what it says, and then I understand what's really happening. So, all while I was mayor, I used to hear cats say, Mr. Bradley, look at my case. I'm innocent. I went to the pen, but I'm innocent. And I would say, okay, bro. And I'd be like, come on, man, And then I'm in the pen, and I'm going, hey, I'm innocent. They were all telling the truth. So, now watch this. So there is a woman who comes to me, and she says, look at these two cases. These guys have been in prison for like 18 years. Just look at them. After prison, I look at them, right? And I said, oh, well, this is all trumped up. You know, these guys supposedly shot this kid. This kid got shot in the carotid artery, but they found the body 200 yards from where he was shot. You know how long you live when you get shot in the carotid artery?
Not long.
About 6 or 7 seconds, right? 8 years pushing and battling, trying to get these guys out. They finally got a letter from the new DA. Now watch this. This is called Everybody Hates Gascon. They making you think this dude is a villain. But do you know when people do a smash and grab, the store loses nothing?
Right. Because they got insurance.
Do you know that when people protest, they have that right? I'm not saying this is right. What I'm saying is this man is actively looking at some of the cases that he knows are screwed up. And when you are a mayor and you're looking at your own police department and you're paying out lawsuits for stuff that they're doing, you understand what you're hearing. You get it. So when you raid my house, now watch this, trying to look into my credit card, when you've already gone to the bank and requested everything I charged, what are you looking for? I don't have a hotel room in my house.
They're just trying to put dirt on you.
I get it. But I'm saying you put my whole family's life on the line.
Right. Children.
And now when they get there, Channel 724, they there first. Because these things are orchestrated. And they walked out, and my brother testified to this, they walked out with 16 boxes and one sheet of paper for it. One sheet of paper in a box. But they walked out with 16 boxes like they were full.
Right. It's setting a media image, right? And so you're tried in the court of public opinion.
To assassinate.
Right. Exactly, your character.
You know,
Absolutely.
my next book that I'm writing is called To Kill a Blackbird.
All right.
Like To Kill a Mockingbird. And they're going to kill you, brother, before they kill you. It's kind of like the line in Gladiator, where the African tells the brother, he tells the general, before they kill you, they got to kill your image. And
Yeah, they have to.
oftentimes,
Absolutely.
You know, did they arrest the sister who's over Black Lives Matter? Yeah, gave her a case. Yeah, charged her with, well, you know, you're living too well. Is that a crime in America?
Well, in America,
skin.
that might be, depending on the color of your skin, right?
And I think sisters can do anything they dream of.
Yeah.
I just wish you could do anything you dream of and still love me as the black man. You know, don't leave me behind.
Well,
No.
guys, it has shown up in the news feed.
What happened?
Finally, the gangster mayor, Miss Linda Foster, has brought it up.
Oh, okay.
So Tara says, so Linda is calling Omar gangster, but you got to be strong to handle the city of Compton and its people. I have seen the weak mayors we have had, and Omar is not a weak mayor.
I know Miss Foster. I know who she is. And I don't think she means it in a deleterious way. That's
Absolutely.
the daughter of Sweet Alice.
Yes.
And they're Republicans, and they do have a different viewpoint of life. I know Linda. And I could say without a doubt that on many occasions, when my family could not eat during the struggle, that Sweet Alice would call me and say, come over, I got something for you. And the beauty of Sweet Alice is before she hands you money to go buy food, you got to go to Bible study with her. And it's like an hour long. I'm not mad at her.
That's so nice. I like your ability to be gracious.
Do I have that now?
Yes, absolutely.
I think so. What do you think, Sissy?
I do. I do think you have that ability.
How do you
but
rise
you
above
have
it all?
Well, I mean, I think there's that in my opinion, there's that line between humility, right? And confidence. And I think that you're balancing that, right? That we have learned tonight that you are clearly humbled You were humbled when you were 9 years old and everyone was reaching out and praying about your leg, right? I lived my life from a spiritual perspective, and you were fortified at that moment, right? And so the journeys and the experiences that you had just deepened that level of humility. But why not be confident? You're a child of the Most High God, right? So why not be confident? Because we know He wants the best for you. He wants the best for all of us.
And He is a good
Right.
Father. You know, if you want to understand what fatherhood is, read your Bible. And I know some of you think that's the white man. Listen, you don't have a Bible without black people in it. It's replete with us. And I don't care if you call people Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. Those are names that were made up. But it's the stories that came into Egypt of Pharaoh who did not know Joseph. That's some powerful stuff.
Yes, it is.
Man, when Bill Clinton was president, I was on top of the world. When George Bush came in, everything that could happen happened.
Wow.
You understand?
Yes.
And so
I do.
the story changes based on who the players are.
Right.
Right? Someone said to me in an interview, now that you know that the sheriffs have gangs in it, would you still do it? I said, you didn't think the Compton PD had gangs? They had worse than gangs. You had the white Compton PD, you had the black Compton PD, and you had the brown Compton PD. And there were internecine battles in there, struggles in there that never went to the press because we knew how to handle it. But this is not going out. So the police are the police.
Right.
But if I got to call one and wait 3 hours, and I got to call one and wait 3 minutes,
There's a difference.
I take the 3-minute call. The thing you must remember, young people, and old people too, about the sheriffs, they are cowboys. Their main priority is guns and violence. If you are arrested for drugs and somebody shoots, the sheriff will throw you out their car so that they can go to a shooting. That's what they do. And in 1997 and 8, when you're having killings every 3 days, when women are crying, falling in your arms, families are destroyed forever, I'm looking for a way to stop it. That's what was going on. I'm looking for a way to save lives, because let me tell you something. I don't know about you men. I mean, I know you grieve. But when these women lose their children, their lives are never the same again. They look for their children to come in the house any day. They won't throw their pictures away. They keep all the way down to their baby shoes. And if some of us men would become man enough to start going to these murders and talking to these women and their families and saying, can I go get a bag of groceries? Instead of sitting up watching the Laker game. You got women on the blocks you live on who are losing their children. And we as men no longer just knock on the door and say, listen, I brought you these flowers. And so I'm not ashamed of me. You know, I still, women that are in their 90s, if I remember their birthday, I'm coming over there with a bouquet.
For sure.
I don't want nothing out this but a smile.
Right.
And I think, the more we do that as men, the greater the people become. Show your love to some of these unfortunate folks.
Miss Deborah says that when you know your destiny and assignment, you got to keep pushing. Everyone is not going to be there for you, but you got to keep going is what she says to you.
Thank you, Deborah.
Of course. And we've got Mr. Melvin Wilson in the house. Hello, Mr. Melvin Wilson. Lloyd Lyndon Brenda from New Image Emergency Shelter.
Hello.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sissy.
So we've talked a lot about a lot of things tonight. And what clearly comes across to me is your commitment to community. And here at the Poetry of Justice show, we are also committed to community and just the enlightenment of the beautiful things that come out of not only the city of Compton, but minority people in general, right? So I'm interested in knowing your thoughts and ideas on mentoring young people and how that can be impactful?
Well, it is the institutions that we build and promote that provides the opportunity for mentoring. We all remember Mr. Freeman, even if you didn't go to Centennial or Willowbrook, you remember Mr. Freeman.
Yes, you do know.
You do know
You
him.
remember Mr. Page. You remember Mr. Wade. You remember, I even remember white teachers that, they held me to account. And so when the institutions are strong, the people in them are strong. And so we've got to start focusing on building strong institutions. And one of the ones we need to really build is the black church again. Listen, there are topics I won't touch. But I go to black churches and I don't see anything that looks like me. So I'm not coming back. Because guess what? My brother and I, we talk all the time. If you're an active shooter, you better not come to the church where we are. Because we're going to get active too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
If we can't shoot you, we're going to try to get to you because guess what? You will not kill 70 here today.
Yeah.
And so the man presence is being denied black men. And the worst part of it is that the black women who are allowed to be successful these days, they got a prerequisite to marry a white man. Now, there's nothing wrong with interracial marriage. Nothing. My father was fairer than he is. For all intents and purposes, without the Indian extract in his blood, he was white. Loved us unconditionally. So there's nothing wrong with that. But I think what's happening now is there's this level of, can we trust this sister? Well, she's married to a white guy. Or can we trust this brother? Well, he's married to... And listen, I want to promote the sanctity of blackness. Man, I love my mother. 3:30 in the morning last week, my cousins called. My mother is gone. I'll be right there. I'll be right there. My cousins, who are all female, when their mother died, my auntie, they call me, or they'll call my brothers. And we as men know we got to get over there and hug them and kiss them. And this is the most beautiful thing in the world. I thank God for who he is and what he shows me. My auntie was the pianist in our church from like the 40s on out. Nobody ever played the piano. And she led the choir. But remember when you went to church, if you wanted to go to the bathroom or you wanted to leave out, you had to stick your little finger out like that, right? Right.
Put that hand up.
Yeah. So I walk into her bedroom with all of her grandkids and great-grandkids and her daughters. And they said, "Why are you laughing?" I said, "Look at her hand. I'm just stepping out for a little while. You'll see me again." And when I told them that, the little kid was like, what do you mean? You see, y'all not getting it.
Yeah.
We had to be at church. We had to, just ain't getting up at church and walking out, right?
No.
Had people standing at the door that go,
What do you think right there? Exactly. You're just going to give you that look like
You
that.
didn't even think
And
about
we've
getting
You
out.
be turning around looking like, is it a good time? Is now a good time? Is now a good time?
Check your mouth to see if you went to the liquor store in between the Sunday school and church. You better have your 35 cents.
Heck yeah.
And if you don't have it, open your mouth, boy. You got green and purple. I mean, dig what I'm saying? Well, we used to call them apple kissies. You remember that? Apple sticks?
I do.
I do.
Remember those?
Yeah.
I still love those.
My favorite was Now and Laters.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, you younger than me, man. Now and Laters came out.
Now and Laters.
They came
Those are the
out a
best.
little later. Oh, they're good.
They made your tongue red
But
or
don't
green.
try to eat them now. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Because
no.
all your dental work is coming out.
It's coming out.
Exactly right. It's crazy.
It's true.
It's good to be black. It's good to have fun. It's good to be amongst my sisters. It's good to be in Inglewood, our sister city. It's just good. Hey, man, we got a lot to celebrate. There's some difficult days ahead of us.
Yes, sir.
We got trouble. We can't sustain marriages, so you can't sustain families. You can't sustain families. You don't have those mentors. We got a lot of work to do.
Okay.
We got to raise the next Malcolm, the next Martin, the next Megger. We gotta raise the next Phyllis Wheatley. We gotta raise the next Fannie Lou Hamer. We have so many great things that we could do. And I'm reminded of when Venus and Serena's father would come to city council, and he said, I want to put my daughters in a tournament. They're gonna be great tennis players. And we could have said,
Right.
Are you kidding? Tennis?
No, see,
Right.
How much is it? Right?
Right.
And I give honor to you, Patricia Moore, councilwoman of the 2nd District, because you would say, Omar, we're going to send those kids to that tournament. And guess what? Like 10 years later, I'm sitting at a hotel, special delivery. What is this? And Serena had sent me the ball to her first major tournament win, the Accra Open.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I'm saying, yeah. $5,000, but you now have somebody that's 50, 60, 70, $80 million famous all over the world. I mean, what do they do for Compton that we cannot do without them? The beauty of us producing them, the beauty that they came up where we live, and all they needed was $5,000. Right?
Yes.
We got to just be mindful. There's a Venus and a Serena right now somewhere
We have that.
in the Compton Unified School District.
We definitely do.
There is, but there's also an Omar Bradley somewhere. There's a Greg Woods somewhere.
Poor fella.
We have Judge Kelvin Filer tonight with
Hey,
us.
Kelvin Filer. There's a Kelvin Filer somewhere. There's a Dennis Filer somewhere. There's a Jana and Satra Zarita
Attorneys
somewhere.
extraordinaire.
But these are the stories that you don't hear
legacy
on the
stories.
media.
Right.
Those are, which is why I like to start with origin stories. Because I've born, raised in the city of Compton. The Ray family has been there since
Absolutely.
1954.
Come on now.
Even before that, because they rented before they bought their home. And I didn't turn out too bad. My sister didn't turn out too bad. Violet Palmer, first woman, to
Progeny of Aaron C.
right.
Wade.
Violet and I grew up together. She didn't turn out too bad.
Yeah.
I was telling Jana Zarita and I have known each other since we were 3 years old.
Yes.
But those stories aren't told, and those are intentional. Why they came to your home and raided it and put one piece of paper in 16 boxes is because we're visual learners, aren't we? Right? And the things that we see, it's so impactful. When you leave this country and you look back in as to what's happening in America, being a black person is the worst thing you want to be.
Listen,
Because it is so scary, the images that they put on the news
It is.
for us.
And do you know, while we talk about that church experience, Judge Filer, your mother sang in my father's junior choir back at El
Mrs.
Bethel
Filer.
Baptist Church.
Yeah.
And when his father would say, Velma, which was my mother, we're going to meet in front of Bank of America and we're going to make them hire somebody black. Velma would cook up beans and rice early, put a napkin over, and head rag, and let's go. And Miss Woods would do the same thing. Kids were not allowed to fail.
That's right.
Absolutely not. Miss Filer, she taught me how to play that little xylophone thing.
God,
And it was
we
at
love
the
that.
Dickinson Light at school.
Right, that
So that
part
we had
right
some
there.
place to go. Well, my mother was working there. But,
did the band.
the kids had some place to be. You had, and I think that one of the questions we talked about, what's missing in our community, and you started your speech about that, is what do our young people, what do they have?
Where's the hope?
Right, where is that? Where is that connection? And I just, take a moment to credit you, Mr. Bradley, for all of the things, the economic development that you brought to that city that continued on long after you were no longer in office. People don't understand that these deals they take years to cultivate, right? And so just because you're seeing them underneath the reign of a different person doesn't mean that that's the person that created those deals. That's not the person who had the vision, who had the tenacity to negotiate those deals to bring economic advantage to that city. And I thank you for that.
And I say most humbly that you're welcome. And then again, I have to say that I was the product of a community. Now, I knew Maxie Filer like an uncle figure.
Yeah. You always see him walking down the street.
Yeah, always.
You know, he called my mother Velma before my father passed. He came to his bedside. And the same thing with May Thomas. You know, sometimes I get mad with May, but I gotta remember the day that it's my day to watch my mother. You know, we never put our mother in a home. We had 7 kids, and every day we took a day. And one day I'm at home, and May came by, and she said, "Baby, I want to tell you how proud I am that you guys are keeping your mother, and I want to pray for her." And when I have disagreements with May, I got to remember who she is. I got to remember this woman came to my home, and she prayed. I seen her get on the side of my mother's bed and pray.
Yes, sir.
So it's the power of community.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Yes. No. Yes. Judge Filer says that, the days of everyone doing their part to help the community.
Absolutely.
Those definitely were the good old days.
Power.
They were.
Yes, it is, sir.
Miss Blondell Filer.
Yes,
I
Miss
graduated college, and I started a lawn business because I wanted to put young black men to work. You know, I didn't care about the money. I just thought, here's a model. I will cut every line in Compton, and I'm thinking it's 2,300 homes.
Every line.
I'm gonna hire 200 young black men.
already
I'm not gonna make a dime now, you know. So I went and I told Miss Filer, I said, "Miss Filer, I got this idea." And of course it's crazy, stupid, you know. Ain't nobody gonna hire me to cover every line, but I'm hiring people, right? And Miss Filer says, "Okay, come cut mine." And you know, I didn't know how to cut grass. I was a radio television major. But these old people were gonna help you.
Yeah, that's so true. Remember, Mama, we gotta find something for this.
We got to
Jesse.
find something for Jesse to do.
We gotta find
Absolutely.
something for him to do. We gotta make sure you're gonna eat. You're gonna have something. Those are definitely the good.
Can you imagine it? I must have told her line up.
Little gouges all
But
in
she
it.
never said anything. Okay, baby, see you next week.
Next time.
You feel me? So
Maybe you give hope to people. You support their dreams. You know, you give them an opportunity.
can we be those people, though?
I don't know.
Do we have it within
I don't
us?
know.
Where is the next, not Omar Bradley, where's the next Blondell Filer?
Omar Rashad says that Compton was number 6 in the country for new business growth. And under my father, according to Black Enterprise magazine released between 95 and 96, I believe. Yes, that's what he says.
We
Isn't
had
that
some
beautiful?
victories.
Thank you so much, Omar.
We are in the world's Guinness Book of Records for rebuilding that Taco Bell in 48
See what I'm
hours.
saying? See what
But
I'm
here's
saying?
the thing. It's not, okay, so, Taco Bell. You want to rebuild this Taco Bell? Okay, here's the rules. Everybody that works here is going to come from Compton. Now, if you can't do that, we're not rolling with you. And they were like, do you have contractors that are Latino and black? Tons of them. 48 hours later,
Boom.
you
See,
know?
that's that CPT, Tori.
Yeah,
That's
that
that
action.
CPT.
Get it done.
So can Emma do that? Certainly.
Absolutely. We have had an amazing night.
We
Lord. Did
have
you
had
see
an
this?
incredible night.
What about you, Mr. Bradley?
I had a good time. I'm hungry now.
I know. Okay, we'll get you some food. We're going to make sure you get something to
I
eat.
don't keep this figure up without eating.
Exactly.
all those biceps and everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're biceps now.
You're
You know
such
what
a
I mean?
ham guy.
It's hamburgers.
Right.
I have had a blessed. Go ahead, Lori. I'm sorry, sister.
No, I was just saying I had a wonderful time. We thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely.
I
all
think
in
we
the
should let the fans know the history about it. How long it took us to get this interview, Lori.
Yes, it took us 6 years to get this interview, and we're very, very proud of it. Definitely. Very grateful. And
Yes,
thank you again.
I'm happy to have been here. And don't forget to tell them that I met you when you were 16,
Yeah.
chasing my football.
Not
player.
chasing.
Not Jason. Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah, he was in his Apache red, and she came up there in her Tar Babe uniform. You know what I'm saying? And I get it, because you Tar Babe girls can't do nothing
Without an Apache.
Wow.
You ain't in the
No comment for me.
There they go.
All right.
God.
Well, thank you again. It's been a wonderful time tonight. And Mr. Bradley, think about coming back and visiting us again.
Okay.
See, he said, okay, I don't know, y'all don't feed me shit, so I need to eat.
I don't want to make anybody mad at you.
No, we're good. Never
Compton
that.
in the house. This is
Cool.
royalty. This is
All right.
legacy. I'm a grateful woman. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And so Melvin, let's see, Mr. Wilson says, he says, hey, Jackie. Jackie told me reacted out to you. I would love to talk on your show someday. Okay, definitely. New Image Emergency Shelter, ladies and gentlemen,
All
Long
right.
Beach, California. The lady, Linda and Brenda. I just want to give them a shout out on the feed.
We'd love to have
Thank
them
you,
on.
Mr. Bradley, because when I think of Compton, there's a couple things I think about. There's 3 things right now. First thing I think about in Compton, when I see the city of Compton, I think of you. I think of Dr. Dre, Andre Young. And now I think of myself, ladies and gentlemen. Radio and communications out of the CPT. That's what I'm talking about. We're making it on fire.
There you go.
Bless you, man.
Thank you for having me and extend an invitation. I'll come back.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great time. Thank you to YouTube. Thank you to Facebook for having an amazing time with us
Night,
tonight.
guys.
Accelerated Radio, Yikes Radio, Kevin Nash, Rashid, I love you. Thank you so much. And we out.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Yay.